The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
I saw a beautiful story not that long ago of a fellow who wasn't exceedingly wealthy. He was very comfortable. The Rabbi helped him have a good parnasa, but he had a beautiful heart and a generous heart. One day, two great askanim, two Gaboy Tzedakah, came to his home to speak to him about a young lady that was getting married who had lost her father. She was a Yesema, she was an orphaness. She was marrying a fellow from a poor family, and they didn't have a penny to their name. There was no money to buy the basics for the chasna, certainly no money to pay for the chasna and to set up home. For some reason, it struck a chord in his heart, and he felt for this couple. And he said to these two Gaboy Tzedakah, I'm telling you, I don't know where I'm going to get the money from, but I'm committing to marrying them up suit to nuts. I'll pay for what it takes to establish the home, for clothing, for the wedding, top to bottom. I've got it. The fellow's name was Moshe. And on the spot, Moshe takes out a checkbook, and he writes out an astronomical check, and he gives it to them, and he says, let this couple get married off b'simcha. Somehow he figures out a way to get money to pay that check. Maybe he borrowed, maybe he took money from there, he cashed in an investment, whatever he did. And the check doesn't bounce, the funds are used, he goes to the chasana, he sees the chasna and kal, he doesn't know who they are, and he dances with tremendous simcha. He enabled them to be able to establish their beautiful Jewish home. 7 years passed, and suddenly Moshe develops chest pain. He goes to the doctors do tests, and they find out that he has a dreaded illness. He goes for different treatments, and he goes to different specialists in Eretz Yisrael, and unfortunately, it just gets worse, and nobody could help him. Finally, after consulting with Rabbi and other medical experts, they tell him he has to go to the United States. There's a specialist there that hopefully can help him. He's very disoriented. He doesn't speak English well. He's going to a foreign country. He's very ill. So the organization provides a young fellow who speaks English well to travel with him, to kind of be his liaison, to help him navigate the many different cultural hurdles and definitely the linguistic hurdles. And they made up that this fellow, Yossi, will meet him in the airport, and he'll accompany him to the United States. He'll be with him on the flight. He'll be with him in the ambulance that greets them at the airport. He'll take him to the hospital. He'll be there, the surgeries and the doctors. He'll be his patient advocate. Moshe is extremely nervous. He says goodbye to his mishpacha, not knowing if he's ever going to make it back. And he comes to the airport. And at the airport, he's introduced to a young man, to a young fellow who's going to help him travel to the United States. And all of a sudden, he blanches. He looks at this fellow Yossi, who doesn't recognize him at all, and he says to him, "Can I ask you a question? How many years are you married?" Yes, he says, well, why is that important? He goes, just tell me. He says, 7 years. He says, was your chassan in this place? It was about this time of the year? Yeah. Did you marry a young lady who lost her father? Yes. And all of a sudden, a feeling of serenity and tranquility washes over Moshe. And he says, I know it's going to be okay. This was the young fellow that he paid for their entire wedding, top to bottom, soup to nuts. He had paid for everything. And if this is the fellow that's taking him to the United States, the recipient of his chesed, he felt that the Rabbi Shalom had given him a hug and said, you did chesed for someone in their greatest time of need. I'm going to make sure that you're going to be okay in your greatest time of need. And that's exactly what happened. Kachav, he travels to the United States, the surgeries were successful, and he comes back healed and cured. We feel sometimes that when we do chesed, it takes away from us. But we don't realize chesed is the greatest thing we could do for ourselves. The Chafetz Chaim, the holy Chafetz Chaim, the Heilige Chafetz Chaim writes in Sefer Avas Chesed. When we do chesed ba'olam hazeh, when we do chesed and kindness, and we're generous to other people in this world, it's me'orer, it arouses the chesed Hashem, the mercy of Hashem, the compassion and the kindness of the Rabbi Shalom. And which of us don't need the mercy, the kindness, the chesed of the Rabbi Shalom?
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org